After completing this tutorial, students will be able to identify gaps in available data and some of their potential causes, and address those gaps when trying to answer research questions. Because of all of the information available online today, it is tempting to think that the data you're looking for should be available. That is not always the case. There are a number of reasons, however, that data might not be available. The first is that it is simply too time-consuming and/or expensive to collect the data. This is especially true of time series data, or data for small municipalities or organizations without the resources to collect data. The second is that data is restricted for privacy reasons. Microdata, for instance, is often carefully de-identified to protect personal privacy. This does not just mean that a person's name is removed from the data, but that any data that could potentially be put together to identify them is removed as well. It is very important from an ethical standpoint to protect people's privacy. However, this often means that data from smaller populations or smaller geographic areas is harder to find, because individuals might be easier to identify. For instance, for ages and incomes over a certain level, datasets will often not provide a specific age or income, and will instead just make it clear that the value is over a certain level, a process known as top coding. So you might see an age listed as over 85 rather than a specific number. Leaving out information to protect privacy can risk the accuracy of the data overall, especially for these smaller populations. The third reason data might not be available is that data is sometimes not collected because of bias. This is a significant issue across disciplines. For instance, clinical research has shown that patients' reactions to medical treatments vary depending on race, ethnicity, and gender, so a lack of diversity of research participants can have serious consequences. So what do you do if the data you want isn't available? First, you go back to your question that led you to looking for this data and reevaluate. Is there a way to change your research question in a way that fits better with the data that exists publicly? If you look at your research question or topic and determine that this is still something you want to pursue, start to look at related data that can build the same picture. This is the same thing you would do with research articles. If you can't find something that's exactly on your research topic, you can still find related research that will be relevant and useful. For instance, say you are looking for health outcomes in Detroit and how those health outcomes were affected by Detroit's budget cuts in 2014. So you need data for a specific population, location, and time period. When looking for this data, you might notice that some of the relevant health outcome data you need, especially the time series data, is for Michigan as a whole, rather than just Detroit. So you can work to find some good information at the city level, and supplement that with information at the state level or the county level, because that's all that has been gathered and is publicly available. If you do this, it's important to acknowledge any limitations or gaps that exist, and connect the data in a way that makes sense. This concludes our introduction to data availability. If you would like additional information or have questions, please go to library.georgetown.edu/askus or email us at reference@georgetown.edu.